Hi, and welcome to this live reading from Finding Hope by Erin Brockus, and this is presented by Itsy Bitsy Book Bits. Chapter 1, March 15. Hope Collins stood motionless before the twin glass doors, each exhaled breath steaming from the icy air. This was the point of no return, and her next step would be either forward or back, new life or old. Her musings were interrupted by an enormous airplane roaring overhead, and without thinking, she glanced up. Immediately, the biting sleet from an unexpected spring storm blasted her upturned face. She closed her eyes and grimaced, setting down her 2 suitcases to wipe her eyes. Then she faced the glass doors again, and a flutter rippled through her midsection. The grimace transformed into a broad smile. Gathering her 2 bags, Hope confidently strode ahead. It was nearly 9 p.m., and the departure section of O'Hare Airport was blinding after the darkness outside. This is the last time. No more Chicago winters or spring surprises. Finding the reader boards for her airline, she joined the line of people snaking its way to the check-in desks. As Hope slowly made her way through, she smiled, trying to guess the stories of the people around her. No one who knew her would ever guess what she was embarking on. Those she hadn't already told, of course. Half an hour later, she made it to the front of the line, and the agent called her up. "ID, please." The man's blue blazer was crisp, but he had the tired bearing of someone who had been dealing with grumpy airline passengers all day. His trim dark brown hair looked like he'd run a hand through it more than once. Hope handed him her driver's license. "Another plus of my new home. Don't have to worry about all the international regulations." The agent brought up her ticket information on his terminal and brightened. "St. Croix. Oh, I'm so jealous. You definitely have the right idea. How long are you staying?" "I'm moving there." The 3 words tumbled out of Hope's mouth as she tried to keep her smile from becoming too ridiculous. He set down her ID with wide brown eyes. "That sounds even better. Goodbye, Chicago winters. You know, if you're in the mood to celebrate, we have a discounted upgrade to first class for only $100. We have some unsold seats, so the price is pretty low for this route." Hope hesitated before saying, "Why not? I'm sure I'll sleep better on the overnight flight. Upgrade me." "This is your new start. Splurge a little." He processed her luggage and printed her boarding pass. "Your ticket includes access to our club lounge before your flight." He gave her directions and sent her on her way. After a surprisingly painless pass through security, she continued to the club lounge. The check-in agent peered at her boarding pass as if he were a bouncer in a club looking to reject the undesirables. Finally, determining Hope had a magic ticket, he gave her a big fake smile and welcomed her into the lounge. Refraining from rolling her eyes, Hope regarded the area as she walked toward the bar. She'd never flown first class before. Armchairs were arranged in an area far larger than she'd expected. Table lamps cast a warm glow around the lounge, and several large flat-screen televisions broadcasted a national news channel with the sound off. After finding a comfortable stuffed chair near the bar, Hope ordered a glass of red wine and relaxed into the soft leather with a mouthful of velvety smoothness. She breathed a happy sigh as she cast her gaze around the quiet room. Definitely worth the splurge. 90 minutes later, she sipped a glass of champagne like a celebrity after settling into her first-class seat. She smiled at the middle-aged businesswoman seated next to her. "Business or pleasure?" The woman, who had introduced herself as Barbara, wore a navy blue suit with a crisp white shirt and a pencil skirt. Her navy pumps matched perfectly. Hope thought for a moment. "A little of both, I guess. I'm moving to St. Croix for a new business opportunity, but I'm hoping it will be a pleasure." She paused. "It's really a complete life change for me." The flutter of excitement was back. Barbara's eyes sparkled. "Oh, that sounds dramatic. Tell me more." "The short version is I've won a scuba diving resort there. I'm flying down now to take it over and make it my own." Barbara gaped at Hope before snapping her mouth shut. "I think I'm going to need the long version. Good thing it's a long flight and we get free drinks." Hope smiled and took a sip of champagne. Sitting here right now, she couldn't believe how completely her life had changed in only 4 weeks. Taking a deep breath, she opened her mouth to speak. Chapter 2, 4 weeks ago. I am not predictable. Hope opened the door of the shop, the warm coffee-scented air wafting out to her. She hurried away from the biting sleet of the winter's morning. As she frowned at the assorted pastries on offer, her mind returned to the conversation she'd had with her boyfriend Kyle the evening before. There's nothing wrong with being predictable, he'd said. It's reassuring, like a favorite pair of slippers. She glared at him as she crossed her arms. I'm slippers to you. Seriously? I can be fun and spontaneous, but I'm also an adult and try to act like one. Are you saying I'm boring? I didn't mean it as an insult. Forget I mentioned it. He sighed and went back to scrolling on his phone. The problem was she couldn't forget it. She unclenched her fists and took a deep breath of caffeinated air. They had been together for nearly 2 years, so maybe things were getting a little stale. Good morning, Hope. I saw you in line, so I made your coffee, said the barista, Ashley, in her crisp green apron. Hope lowered her brows as she swept back a lock of Chestnut's hair. How did you know what I was going to order? Ashley's smile fell. Oh, you always get a grande skinny vanilla latte. If you want me to make something else today, it's okay. I'll make a new one. Hope ran her card through the reader. No, my usual is fine. I didn't realize I was so, obvious. Ashley's sunny smile returned. We've got to have our routines, right? Yeah, I guess so. Thanks. Hope grabbed the coffee, chewing on a fingernail as she walked toward the door. Am I getting a wake-up call here? Kyle and Ashley? The icy sleet once again pelted her as she left the shop and headed toward the car. Pulling her coat tighter, she had much more important things to think about. You've earned this promotion. It's time to prove it to Terrence. Hope started her car, rubbing her hands together in front of the heating vents before driving the 2 miles to work. Pulling into the parking lot of Rosemont Inn and Suites, her trusty SUV only skidded a little. I really hate snow. She inspected the tall building before her. Built 15 years ago, the hotel still looked modern and upscale. The light gray rectangular facade was broken up with rows and columns of windows. Royal blue accent lighting was still on in the darkness. Eduardo, the front desk clerk, grinned from his computer as she passed by into her office. Morning, Hope. It's another gorgeous day. He soon appeared at her door, his black hair short and clean. Eduardo was 30 but looked 15. He complained he still got carded. Hey, isn't your interview today? Ugh, Chicago winters are the worst. And yes, my interview's this afternoon. Assistant general manager has a nice ring to it. If things go well, your sentence with me as front desk manager will soon end. Eduardo smirked. Well, you've worked here forever. They'd be stupid not to promote you. A poster hung on the wall, a runner breaking the tape as she won a race. The caption read, Good things come to those who don't give up. Sometimes it feels like forever, but it's been 10 years, and thanks for the compliment. Later that morning, Hope sat in her office looking over occupancy lists when raised voices drifted in from the front desk. She smiled at Eduardo's smoothing tone as he tried to calm a customer. What do you mean you aren't giving me an upgrade? Don't you know I'm a gold member? Yes, I see that, and we thank you for your loyalty. Eduardo used the extra sweet tone he always took with awful customers. Unfortunately, we don't have any suites to upgrade you to. Our check-in time isn't until 3 p.m. If you prefer to wait for a better room, I can see what opens up between now and then and call you immediately. The man bellowed. This is completely unacceptable. Okay, that's enough. Hope rose and approached the front desk, finding a very large and very red middle-aged man looming in front of the counter. He wore a rumpled suit and his graying hair stuck up on one side. She peeked at Eduardo's computer screen to scan the details before putting on her best professional smile and introducing herself. Hello, Mr. Goodson. Eduardo is absolutely right about no suites being available, but I have a great corner room that just opened up. Would that work? I know it's an inconvenience, but our options are limited when checking in this early in the day. Goodson deflated. He'd been puffed up, spoiling for a fight. Okay, I guess that could work. I've been flying all night, and it was a terrible flight. Hope's face hurt from smiling so hard. I understand completely. Red eyes are the worst. The fire in the hearth gave a loud pop, making Goodson jump. I'll let Eduardo finish getting you checked in. Our restaurant is open if you'd like to get breakfast. He shook his head, still grumpy. At this point, I only want to get some sleep. Our rooms are soundproof, so that should help. Please let me know if there's anything else that you need. I'm here to help. Hope handed him her card. I'll leave you in Eduardo's expert hands. Thank you, Goodson said, flushing then. Hope smiled and walked back to her office. Entitled Elite Number 1 handled for today. He wouldn't be the last, but she could handle people like him in her sleep. At 12:58, Hope walked through the door of the executive conference room with her back straight and shoulders squared. Terrence, the general manager, sat at the conference table with the food and beverage manager and the current assistant general manager on either side of him. Good afternoon, Hope, Terrence smiled. Please have a seat. As usual, he looked like he could have stepped out of Inc. magazine. Not a wrinkle in his suit, and his salt and pepper hair was perfectly groomed. After exchanging pleasantries, Lydia, the F&B manager, narrowed her eyes and asked, "What is your experience here, Hope?" She straightened and met Lydia's eyes. "As if you don't know, we have lunch over a month." "We have lunch once a month." "I've worked here 10 years, 4 years as a front desk assistant, and the past 6 years as front desk manager. I know the ins and outs of a wide variety of hotel operations." Terrence steepled his hands in front of him. "You've done excellent work here, Hope. How do you feel your current position has prepared you for assistant general manager?" "I'm good with people. When I took this position, the front desk associate turnover was sky high. Nobody wanted to work the front desk." She shifted her gaze to Mark, the outgoing assistant manager who was taking over their hotel at the Denver airport. He was also the person she had replaced as front desk manager. "I haven't needed to hire an employee in over a year. I don't think any other department manager here can say that." Hope turned back to Terrence. "The assistant manager needs to know every detail of the hotel and make sure the small things are done right. The front desk is the first point of contact for guests. We deal with everything, and I've just about seen it all. My department also has the highest guest survey ratings in the hotel." Lydia looked impressed, and a warm glow lighted in Terrence's eyes. "Damn it, I'm in my 30s. It's past time for something good to happen to me." "I've been here for a long time, and I'm one of the most experienced employees you've got," she continued. "Terrence, we've had multiple discussions about increasing my responsibilities here. In short, I think you'd have a very hard time finding anyone more qualified for this position." Sitting back in her chair, Hope looked at the wall clock, surprised it was nearly 3:30. Still on a high after her interview, she smiled as her phone vibrated with a text from Kyle. "Kyle, dinner tonight? I made a reservation at Olive Tree for 5:30, okay?" Hope, "Perfect. See you then." Olive Tree was one of her favorite restaurants, and she was definitely in the mood for a celebration. Hopefully he wants to make up for being an ass last night, though he might have a point. This new job could be exactly what I need to shake up my routine a little. Eduardo. Eduardo ducked his head into her office. "So tell me, how did the interview go?" "Great," Hope smiled widely. "They still have more candidates to interview, so they won't announce the position quite yet, but they didn't throw me any major curveballs, and I've certainly paid my dues here." "Well, you get my vote. Okay, I'm out of here." He turned to frown at her, one hand gripping the door frame. "You're not working late again, are you?" "Nope. Dinner date at 5:30. He disappeared out the door as she rose to help with the afternoon check-in rush, happy and excited now that the tension of the interview was over. She may have started her day in a funk, but a dinner date with Kyle would end it on a high note.